Welcome back to another episode of Procrastination Garage. My name is Matt. So what do we have in store this week? Mostly snowmobile rides. 3 rides are included in this video. I say that, it's more like prepping for 3 rides and a little bit of video out on the trail and whatnot. And then a little work on one of my tow-behind trailers. And maybe if you can see over my left shoulder, I brought home a new project. Wasn't meaning to, but it just kind of happened. So sit back and enjoy and leave a comment when you're done. Thanks. It's Friday morning and we're prepping for another adventure. This adventure is taking the truck and the sled, no trailer, up to Mount Baker for a ride tomorrow. And let me tell you, I'm not looking forward to it. The guy that's putting it together, friend of mine, I like him, he's great, that's the reason I'm going. But this is supposed to be a big ride, big group ride for the Washington State Snowmobile Association. And I'm a board member, so I expect I ought to be there. But that being said, riding in big crowds, not my thing. Mount Baker, I have no real connection to Mount Baker. I don't care. If I could get up there on a blue sky day for the view, it'd be great. But that's the other thing. It's supposed to be raining tomorrow. So raining, too many people, poor parking. I'm not looking forward to it. But hey, we're going to do it anyway. Hey, I'm going to enjoy the road trip driving up there today. So there is that. But I need to get the sled unloaded from the white trailer and loaded in the back to pickup, and plus we need to put some gas and oil in it. Well, probably just gas. And then yesterday when I was riding, the track was kind of making some funny noises. So I want to check the track alignment and tension on it. So we'll do all that too. I decided I would check the track tension while the snowmobile is still in the trailer. Be easier to jack it up and I'd have a surface to work with. So I'm using my high lift jack. High lift jacks are one of the most useful tools in the world, but they're also one of the biggest pain in the ass tools in the world. If you don't keep the mechanism lubricated, they flat out won't work. And this one's kind of gummed up, so I'm gonna have to spray with some WD-40 to get it going. After spinning the track around and looking at it, the track is pretty well centered in the tunnel. What you do is you measure between the little metal clips on the track and where they touch the high facts, and they're pretty darn equal. They may be off a 16th, maybe as much as an 1/8, but probably close to a 16th. It's not enough for me to worry about. What is a little concerning though is on the right side, the metal clips, the forward portion of the clip is bluing from overheating, and I can't figure out why. And I don't think it was like that when I replaced the high facts a while back. Honestly, didn't pay much attention. Maybe it was, and I just didn't notice. Looking at the left side of the track, there's just the smallest hint of it, but not much. The high facts, obviously, they're not worn through. They're brand new, so I don't know what's going on. We're going to have to keep a close eye on. I can't see anything where metal's touching metal or anything. I suspect it's getting hot from a lack of lubrication, which can happen if you go down an icy trail and you're not getting enough snow thrown up on there, which is why I have ice scratchers. Now, if this has been like this for like a couple of years, it would make sense because I had a couple broken ice scratchers a couple seasons back and I rode it a couple times that way. So I don't know, we're just gonna keep an eye on it, but for now, we're gonna go ahead and get it unloaded and get it loaded in the back of the pickup, ready for our next adventure. Not only do we have to get the trailer lined back up and going down the driveway, we need to move the pickup and the motorhome because that's roughly where the trailer is going to be dropped off. No biggie. Next time you see it, we'll be done. Let's see how much fuel I can spill. Nary a drop. Looks like we're ready to go. Well, except I need to put straps on the back of the snowmobile to keep it from sliding out the back. They're sitting on a heater vent right now, drying out a little bit because they were frozen solid. So let's get going. Here we are at the top of Snoqualmie Pass. It is gorgeous up here, there's no doubt. On our way up to Mount Baker. Made it up to Bellingham, Washington. I'm not going to be roughing it tonight. Nice room. Headed south on I-5, left Bellingham this morning. All right, I gotta admit it, yesterday was actually a pretty good day. Weather kind of sucked, but the people made it good. I got to ride with a couple of friends that I don't get to ride with often, haven't ridden with in years. That made it all worthwhile. So, but be happy to get home. Be happy to get over on the east side of the mountains to get out of the traffic of the Seattle area, although it's not so bad this morning. But there you go. This was only my second trip up to Mount Baker in I don't know how many years. Last time was probably 10 years ago. Seems like every time I come up here the weather sucks. Last time I was up here it just rained and poured and I remember it was kind of miserable. This time it just snowed the whole time and visibility was kind of bad. Mount Baker for snowmobiling is not for the faint of heart. There's not a whole lot of family trail riding. It's more off trail. Big open areas above the tree line, and then in the trees it's pretty gnarly riding. We did have a good time. I appreciate my friend that led us around yesterday. That made a big difference. It's Tuesday and time to start prepping for the next adventure. Tomorrow we're just going for a fun ride. I say that although I'm going to carry a chainsaw just in case. The goal of tomorrow's ride is to start checking for a route for a ride I'm leading during our winter rendezvous coming up in February. And also I'm thinking today I'm going to go ahead and load up the wood for this weekend's adventure, which is our poker ride, and I need more firewood for that. So the snowmobile is still in the back of the white truck from our Mount Baker adventure. So as you can see, you need to move some vehicles around, need to get a trailer hooked up. I'll save you all the gory details. But that's what's going on right now. What's the deal, Bear? You got to go in there? Yeah, you gotta get in the pump house? Bear is such a goofy cat. He wants to lead me in the pump house so we can see how much food is in there. And even if it's full, he wants me to top it off for him. Are you better now, Bear? You got a full belly? Huh, buddy? Sleds out of the truck. There's a reason this channel is called Procrastination Garage. Those are the pumpkins that I put out back in October. You look up there, Christmas lights are still in the house. Of course, Christmas lights seem to stay on the house a long time. And then in the back of the green truck there is a dishwasher I replaced in the rental back on December 24th. What I've determined in life is you just can't rush into things. You got to take your time. You got to think about it. Be deliberate. So we'll get to them when we get to them. Isn't that right, Skeeter? Yeah? And Bear's here. And look over there. There's little Bailey. How you doing, sweetheart? Oh yeah, don't even worry about that. That's got to be picked up too. Now, in my defense, the reason they're sitting there is because they were full of water, so I was letting them dry out before I put them back in the recycling bin. The trailer's all set for tomorrow, and mostly set for Friday. You can see I've got the little tag along filled back up with wood. I didn't fill it clear to the top for two reasons. One, I don't think we'll need that much wood. And second, I'm debating whether to take my little gas stove with me to serve up some hot chocolate. I'm all ready. You can see I got hot dog sticks. I'm going to take some marshmallows so the kids can roast marshmallows over the fire. So we are going to do that. So I got to think about it. We've also got some cookies left over from the last event, and I'm going to bring those up as well. Anyway, both sleds ready to go. You see in the back there, the chainsaw is sitting on the back of it in case we need it tomorrow. And that bag right there is full of snowflyer papers. Take up to the warming hut tomorrow. So I think that's it. What happens in the mountains stays in the mountains, Riley. My daughter and I had a great ride yesterday. We were out with about 4 other people. I think there were about 6 in the group total. We covered a lot of ground. The goal of the ride was to check out some trails for an upcoming ride that I'm going to be hosting during Wasa's Winter Rendezvous. And it's going to be a trail slash off trail, mostly off trail. So I wanted to make sure that some of the routes I wanted to take didn't have a bunch of down trees and whatnot, which is the reason I had the chainsaw along. And I did use the chainsaw once, but only once. We had a couple other trees that we cut out with hand saws. And we did some shoveling. I had to shovel some snow into some holes. My daughter, she probably thinks that was a pretty challenging ride. And I'll admit, for one of our weekday rides, that was probably one of the more challenging ones. It wasn't anything really scary, but we had some terrain that we had to deal with. So no big deal. Anyway, what's up next? This weekend, Saturday, my daughter and I are manning a checkpoint for a poker ride. And so I need to get ready for that. So let's do it. Other than the usual gas knolling of the sleds, I do have an issue here. I'm not sure how well you can see it. This snow flap here, this side is pushed in further than the other side. And what that means, you can see it's just a little crooked, I hope. Anyway, what happens is the snow flap already gets stuck up underneath the track when you're backing up. And it's made even worse because now this side is closer to the track. So I think I just need to get up there with a hammer and a piece of wood and kind of pound the bracket back into shape. So that shouldn't take too long. And the other project is putting the lid back on the little trailer here. If you'll recall in the last video, I said that when I put it back on, I was going to make it so the pins would come out of the hinges so I wouldn't have to fully remove the hinge like I did this time. So that is my goal. I'm going to work on that too. But first, let's take care of the sled. Here you can see what the problem is. This bracket right there on the side is bent. And what happened is a ski caught it, came up underneath and bent it. So we just need to bend that back into place. It doesn't have to be pretty, just has to put the snow flap back out where it needs to be. I'm thinking the tool of choice is just going to be a big pair of vice grip pliers. The pliers made it better, but it's not perfect. There is still right up there to the left. They're right up in there is an area that needs to be pushed out. So I'm going to use a hammer, and I think I've got a big metal punch or drift or something that'll work up in there. Let's add a couple more tools to the job. Now I got to ask you guys, do you know where my baby sledgehammer is? I have not seen it in months, and I really could use it right now. So if any of you know, let me know in the comments, please. Okay, we're calling it. Looks better. In fact, right now, looks like that side of the snow flap is actually extending out a little bit further than the other side. That's all right. Both of them ought to be out a little bit further, but I think it's okay. Part of the problem is we've got some warped plastic right there that's affecting things as well. So what I would like to do, you see on this snowmobile here, I added a removable snow flap. The idea is in deep snow, it's hard to back up with the snow flap, and also it's hard to get rid of all the snow when you're trying to shoot it out the back. So it has these little pieces here that come up, and the snow flap comes off. So I had to retrofit it to that machine because they didn't make it for that model. So I'm thinking about retrofitting another, because this sled suffers from the same thing when you're trying to back up in deep snow. That flap just gets caught because it's so close to the ground. But that's a future upcoming Procrastination Garage project. We don't have time for it, or do we have the parts? When I installed these hinges, I had to drill my own holes, at least a hole here and a hole here, and across the other hinges. And they're probably not exact from each hinge to hinge, so I need to make sure they stay in the same relative position. So I'm pulling this hinge off. This one is the front one, and it's marked front bottom. So front bottom. So whoops, wash there. Okay, so I'm going to take this down to the grinder, and I'm going to grind off one end of that pin and hope it pulls right out, and then we've got to figure something to replace it with. So does anybody else have a dirty little secret? Yeah, I'm talking about my garage. Oh my God, what a freaking disaster area. This is pretty much all yard sale stuff. It needs to go down in the container. And why haven't we put it in the container? Because we've got a container project to do. But for now, all we need is a grinder over there. Alright, I've got it mostly ground off. Not perfect. Got a little overzealous on one end there. I'm hoping any remaining metal will just fold over as I pound it through with a punch. It's a balancing act. You can't clamp it too tight in the vise because then you'll just crush the hinge around the pin. And if you don't get it tight enough, then it just pounds out as soon as you hit it. So I've got one thump on it and I can see it starting to come loose. So it'll come out. Do you see the problem? I just discovered it. You can see that they've put little dimples in there to hold the pin in place. Even though the pin couldn't go anywhere anyway, they felt the need to do that. So that's just making my life more difficult. Moving on to plan B. Going to use a hacksaw. I'm going to cut it there, and that'll at least get it separated, and then I'll figure out how to get those pieces out of the end. Are two pieces better than one? I don't know, that remains to be seen, but at least we got them apart. Now let's figure out how to get pieces out of the, where's my fingers? Right there. By a stroke of luck, the width there fits my vise, my Harbor Freight vise, just perfectly. So I already did this one. I pounded it out. So I can do the same with that other one and we'll be set. But I think I am going to have to grind that end off first. First one is done. Well, I say done. I need to go fill up some gas cans. So I'm going to take the hinge with me and go by the hardware store. See if I can find a pin that'll fit through there. Otherwise, I'll have to scrounge up some bolts and make them myself. But it'd be easier if I could just buy something. Dog and I just finished up at Helms. I think we got everything we needed. Never mind the crack in the windshield. There it is. Those were the goodies I bought. So these pins here, they will go in the hinge right there. So that's our next project. Let's get that done. Now I'm going to have to go ahead and pull these other two hinges off and tear them apart like I did this one. One thing, when you put these hinges together, there was a little plastic bushing in there that's now gone, so I've got quite a bit of play. So I don't know how much that's going to be a problem. I can always slip some washers in there if I need to. First, we're just going to put it back together and see how it flops around and then go from there. I've got all the hinges tore apart and hooked back up to the respective wood pieces. Now we're going to slide the top into place and pin it. Alright, I've got it slid into place. And then one of these little pins I bought, actually, which is the front. The pin should slide in from the front to the back. And all the way through like that. Do that to all three of them, and then I will use my Harbor Freight hitch pin assortment and put them through the little holes there. You see the little holes? Right there. I've got them all pinned. You can see the gap I'm talking about right there. That maybe I should fill that with a washer or something. That just means bringing more parts along, so I'm not really wanting to do that. So lift the lid. You know, honestly, it's a little floppy, but it ain't that bad. We're going to try it out on this trip and see. I think it'll probably be okay. And then, I don't know if you noticed, I bought a pair of those, and the idea there is just to put them there to keep these latches from coming undone. So I got two of those. Not very high tech, but it'll get the job done. So this project here is just about done. You may recognize these two pieces. These are the shelf pieces that go about halfway down inside this little trailer. And you may recall that originally I had them bolted together, but when they're bolted together, I cannot get them out in one big piece. So I have to take it apart. So now it's apart. But when I put it into the mode for the shelf, having to use a wrench to put those bolts in is kind of a pain in the butt. So today at the hardware store I picked up some more thumb screws, a little bigger ones that match the size of this. So the idea is that when I put it together, I'll put it together with thumb screws. So let's give that a try. In addition to changing the bolts, I'm also changing from lock washers to just regular washers because they're not going to be in there all the time. Unfortunately, I didn't have 4 matching in color, but we don't care because they're all the same size. There they are all screwed in on the bottom side. And here they are from the top side, the ones on the left. And as you can see, they don't stick out any further than the other ones, which is good, because otherwise I would have had to cut them off, and this is just easier. So I wasn't going to take this shelf up with me for the event on Saturday, but we're going to take some marshmallows up so kids can roast them, and we got some leftover cookies from the last event. So I am going to want to have both tables on both sides. So I'm not going to put it where it normally goes. I'm just going to stack it on top, wrap it in a tarp, and haul it up that way. Hopefully I'll get a picture of it this weekend so you guys can see. For those of you that didn't see the previous videos, you'll see what we're talking about. One last thing I want to do, these thumb screws here, first of all, they're very long because they basically only have to be a little longer than the thickness of the pipe there, and then they do have to screw into this. So what I'm going to do, see, I've got this one here, I've already got a nut on it. Take it to the grinder, and I'm going to grind pretty much all this here, and the idea is that I want this to be able to just push down into the hole that far and before it starts screwing. That'll make putting these support pieces in place a lot easier. So let me do that. There you go. Can you see? About the first ½ inch or so is now ground down. It's not really pretty, but it works just like it needs to. So that'll help align those when I send them down through the metal, and then they'll screw in the rest of the way. The tag-along trailer is ready for tomorrow's adventure, full of wood, and got the fire pit on top, fire starter inside. We're ready. It's Saturday morning, 5 a.m. Headed to pick my daughter up, and then we're headed up in the mountains for the Yakima Ski Benders poker ride. I didn't do any video yesterday, but my daughter and I went up and helped mark the course. We also took up a load of firewood. So it should be a lot of fun. But just getting up this early, 4:45 is what I got up on a Saturday morning. That's too early. Today's weather might be interesting. The originally they were forecasting snow for Friday and Saturday, and it never did really snow yesterday up there. And then I've heard somebody say it's supposed to be up to 1 foot of snow by Sunday. So all that snow's got to come today. So we'll see if it happens. We're bringing our pop-up, but unfortunately I walked off and left the sidewalls that I bought for a previous event, you may recall. I meant to pack them last night and just totally forgot. So let's hope the wind doesn't blow.
Are you filming?
Good morning.
Good morning. I had to get up at 4:35 a.m.
Sorry. First stop of the day, McDonald's. Got out my coffee. Except my coffee's a Diet Coke. 7 a.m. Leaving the snow park. The fun has already begun. We're having to repaint the arrows on the course because the snow covered them last night. Here we are at one of the poker ride stations, and we're here to drop off a tank of propane, a little heater, the stuff for punching cards, and a pop-up just in case. Oh, and a roll of toilet paper, because there's an outhouse there. It may or may not have toilet paper. So now we've got 2 more stops, and one of them being ours. I didn't take video of the carnage, and I should have. That tag-along trailer, the pin doesn't fit right with my hitch. Came undone. Flipped the trailer over. We had to unpack it, get everything out of it, and repack it. What a pain. 9:22. We're all set up. Got the fire going over there. It's not going real well yet. It will be. This is our poker run station where we're doing the marking the cards. We've got the little trailer all set up in our table mode. The modifications I made to it the other day made it a lot easier. We got hot dog sticks, in this case marshmallow sticks. Got some marshmallows for the kids. Got some cookies for everybody. Those cookies are left over from the run a couple weekends ago. I'd put them in the freezer. I think they're going to be all right. Well, we just ate one. We know they're all right.
They taste great.
So now we're just waiting. This is our station area. Yeah, it is the best one. They don't sell the first poker hand until 9 o'clock, so people are just now hitting the trail. We're the second stop out on the trail. So I don't expect anybody will be here for probably another 20 minutes at best, and hopefully it'll be 30 minutes or more. So that's it. We'll get you some film when we've got some people here. Who is it? Anybody we know? Nobody we know. First customer coming in. It's just about 2 in the afternoon on Saturday. We're done for the day up here. We've got our area all torn down. You can see the weather's turned time to haul all this stuff back to the snow park. Ryan and I are back on the trail, picking up the rest of the stuff that we brought out this morning. Sometimes you just have to make do. I swapped out back at the snow park this little piece here because the one that I was using wasn't really a good match for this hitch. So a friend of mine had the right one, so I swapped it. And I hooked the trailer, this little trailer up to it, and we got, God, not even 100 yards up the road. And it came loose, and then we lost the pin. So good thing we got extra tie-down straps. So we're picking up at the last checkpoint, and then headed back to the snow park, and then we are pretty much done for the day. Finally.
Getting ready to load up. We have 2 trailers that we're taking with us. That one's my dad's, and this one is a ski bender's, I believe. But we're gonna try to get them all, everything inside. So, and the snow really picked up, if you couldn't tell.
That's going to wrap up this week's Procrastination Garage. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember, the goal of Procrastination Garage is to get me out of the house so I'm not sitting around watching YouTube and TikTok videos, that I'm out working in the shop, out in the yard, or this time of year I'm up in the mountain snowmobiling. Down in the comments, tell me what you're working on, or tell me what you're procrastinating about. I hope you hit the like button. I hope you subscribe. I hope you tell your friends. And with that, we'll see you next week. It's another tow-behind trailer. It's not mine, belongs to the snowmobile clubs. Sometimes when you break them, you got to volunteer to fix them.